I'm Dr. Sarah Wolff. I'm the Director of the Center for European Research. And this is our inaugural lecture 2018, Reforming the EU, Why and How the Union Needs to Hand Powers to its citizens.
I'm not sure a European republic is kind of the way to go. So the first reason is because there's no European demos, which I think is something Ulrike has talked about a bit. But I think, basically, I think we know that we need to make people feel more European, and that that was kind of one of the problems behind Brexit. And it's not too late to kind of change that for the rest of the countries in the EU. However, I'm not entirely sure creating new kind of like structures and new institutions in the EU is something that can actively help people kind of regain that sense of feeling European, and the need that people's need for greater democracy and kind of like solving the democratic deficit is not necessarily an active one. So I think a lot of people might say, actually, we do want, we have this idea that, there's not enough, the EU is not democratic enough, and we want to have more of a say. But I think that in practice, I'm not sure a lot of people will be ready to do something about it, and I think that's the case. That's not just the EU. That's the case for a lot of politics, effectively, for voters, rightly or wrongly, kind of saying, we don't like this or that, or we want to say in this or that. And then when they're offered the chance, I think, to kind of get involved in it, they don't. And also, yes, I don't think a kind of sense of shared identity can necessarily be brought in by by enhanced democracy, I guess, as nice as it sounds. And the second point, I guess, is about the yearning for the nation state. So I think I get that, what Ulrike is trying to do is kind of looking at the long term. However, the timing is slightly awkward, what I think that, and we've seen everywhere. So, from, Brexit, the Italian elections, Poland, Hungary, Le Pen getting to the second round, that, what citizen, that a lot of people want at the moment is this notion of control, is this notion of, regaining again power on a local level, but, mostly at the kind of, at the nation state.
Because be it this European Republic, to say this up front, or be it whatever institutional reform of the trilogy, what we need to discuss, the Europe of the 21st century will need a different one of those created with the Jean Monnet treaties and then ever closer union and all these contracts. Because nobody is happy with this EU. And this I say with all my dearest respect to those like you, MEP, who have been building, say, the first 60 years of European integration, that if I, as both an activist and a political scientist, I look over the past 27 years, I just need to say that we alienated very much so from what we wanted to do, which is ever closer union. Is that we are experiencing a huge deviation from the plan what Europe once should have been, which is a democratic, social, political Europe. So, what I did in 2016 is I wrote my own book of anger against a system called the EU, which I think, from a German perspective, in the years of the financial crisis, got it sour. I do think, as a German, there is a real German responsibility for the state of the European Union, which in Germany is obviously denied. And I tried to fight against this German perception. So I wanted to write a book of anger, in which I did what? I wanted to achieve two things. I wanted to deconstruct the German animal position in the Euro governance, and I wanted to do an offer to those in the eastern part of Europe and those in the southern part of Europe, because the essence of my book, when I call it Republic, is what? Is to take the notion of European citizen serious. Because European citizen is not we like each other and we share common values. The notion of a citizen is citoyen in the French meaning of the French Revolution, and the citoyen has rights and obligations. And in one democracy, these rights and these obligations need to be the same, period. Period, period. So if we are hanging around with this European citizenship thing, because now the citizens need to be in, and they need sovereignty, and they want to decide and participate, and now the citizens are everywhere, we need to catch them and ask them and whatever, I just see and say, look, and if we were to give back sovereignty and control to the citizens and make a political system that works on the European level. And for me, to acknowledge two things, that first, if you want a democracy, we can say, okay, we don't want a European democracy. Yesterday's talk, political union. Perhaps we say this, but if we say we still want to try, with or without the UK, by the way, a European democracy, then there's one necessary, though not sufficient, condition for democracy, which is that the citizens are equal in front of the law, period. And they are especially equal when it comes to voting, taxation, and social access. You don't struggle for this. You don't make citizens compete in one democracy. But if you go down this definition, citizens' equality in front of the law, you end up where? You went with Cicero, equium jus. Those who enter a state of equal citizenship form a republic. So the only thing in my book I wanted to do is to go back to the most ancient teachings about what a political union or political entity is, to capture the notion of republic and to bring it, which is our own cultural heritage. But just to give you that one, yeah, when John Locke entered the, say, Latin thought into the British sort of thinking, yeah, the British translation of a republic is commonwealth, res publica, the organization of the public good. Commonwealth is not the British Empire. Commonwealth is what came through John Locke in the Putney Papers of 1647 as the idea of organizing the common good as Commonwealth into British thought. And so I just wanted to go back there and say, look, if we want a different Europe in the 21st century, and if we want to take the citizens for, in whatever form for serious, as sovereign, in the meaning of the sovereign, then they need to be equal. And what is the sacre du citoyen? What is the sacre? The holiness, the sacredcy of the citizen is independent, general, equal, and secret voting, which is forming one electoral body. So here I am and say the second quite nice idea for a Europe of tomorrow might be that we end up all as European citizens, 510 million on the continent, in one electoral voting register from A to Z. It should be doable. We have 28 voting registers. There should be one algorithm, I guess one touch on a whatever supercomputer to fusion all these A to Z names into one electoral body, and here we go. But my aim was more to not reason in terms of a super state. That is not my reasoning. My reasoning was division of power and equality of citizens. And Rechtsgleichheit, legal equality, is a quite different thing than superstate Europe. Because, for instance, I come from the Federal Republic, which is by any standards superstate Germany. We are very federal, but we do have legal equality for all German citizens, from the poorest part in the northeast to the wealthiest part in the south. And guess what? This is economically not reasonable. We do it because we pay the price for democracy, and the price for democracy is legal equality of citizens. This is Habermas. So that is the thinking I want to have in the 21st century, and I see this as a starting point for a very different reflection on how to build a European democracy based on political equality of citizens, and from there I think everything falls apart. Because then you get a different parliament, you get no taxation without representation, you get a different citizens' representation, you get a voting register from A to Z, so you get the sacre du citoyen, you get many things. And perhaps it could work.